Hello everyone, welcome to episode 2 of AI governance series. Um, in the last episode, we took an example of an AI agent which was deployed into a mid-sized bank, and this autonomous agent can autonomously approve some loans. If you haven't watched that episode, I will request you to watch that first. In this episode number 2, we will take an example of a Northbridge Health, which is a regional hospital network with multiple hospitals, clinics. Instead of one AI agent, this particular hospital runs multiple AI systems. So real enterprises do not have just one AI system, they have multiple, sometimes 100, and it may be possible that within these systems, you have millions of agents running in parallel. Something like a multi-agent system. For Northbridge Health, they are rolling out AI across radiology, which does image analysis assistant. There is a triage agent that does symptom intake. There is scheduling agent that does appointment and optimizes that. We also have a billing, which uh, takes care of billing and claim processing. Another one is clinical note, takes care of transcription, diarization in the ambient environment. And finally, there is an HR which takes care of resume screening. In our scenario, we defined six different systems, and these six different systems have different risk profile. I have mentioned that radiology has a high risk profile, while billing and scheduling AI has lower risk profile. But these are kind of relative and not absolute, because for a company, billing agent, uh, which finally involves with the finance and all those things, is also as important as any other AI system. But in our scenario, this one is relative risk profile. So something like radiology AI, it is of high risk. Triage chatbot, um, for something like HR resume screening. This is also high because we are saying that okay, we have to hire a specialist doctor. So in case there is some flaws in our chatbot, we may end up hiring a doctor which is not well suited for the job. For radiology AI, the challenges are it can misinterpret the images and can directly cause harm to the patient. We have a triage chatbot. The wrong triage delays urgent care. The last one I already talked about was HR resume screening. Similarly, there is also transcription bot. It may also hallucinate on the transcriptions and the records. There is also a billing agent. If you know about some medical guidelines, kind of HIPAA, and there are wrong code, it may lead to incorrect legal exposures. We also have a scheduling AI, ops, mostly scheduling the patient and the patient intakes and all the questionnaire that you can have before pre visit to a clinic or a hospital. So, based on the risk appetite or the risk category of these different AI systems, we can also have four clusters, and these clusters are building block of real enterprise AI governance program. So number one is the foundation of it, the strategy and accountability, discovery and inventory, data governance, and documentation. So this is nothing but strategy and accountability is nothing but maybe somebody from the board of governance or somebody else who decides exactly gets deployed, and who is accountable in case something goes wrong. Discovery, inventory, data governance, and documentation are all related to what kind of AI systems, AI surfaces exist within the organization. Second one is protection, that includes risk management, AI security, privacy, ethics, and fairness. The third one is external fit, mostly related to regulators and third party vendors that are tangent in our case, to the medical AI system. That includes compliance and regulatory bodies, third party risk, that can be insurance, that can be medical, or anything else, runtime operations, incident response, and the fourth and the final one, as we mentioned and discussed in the previous episode, that governance is a continuous process uh, within the stages itself, or from building to the deployment. We have the continuous process, uh, because it takes care of changes and life cycles. Also have financial controls, workforce who are directly interfacing with the AI system, and the culture within the organization. This culture sometimes also gets reflected into the AI system. Uh, and final is metrics and reporting. Metrics, you are collecting the traces from your agent run, and reports are based on, maybe based on these chatbots. You have some kind of a report from scheduling AI, how many schedule went ahead, how many were cancelled, and so on. So let's check about, go in detail of the first one, that is the foundation, who decides and what exists. Number one is strategy and accountability. So this is a governance committee with real decision making power. It also have owners, maybe different owners taking care of different pillars, and also they have a clear acceptable use policy. So in our case, Northbridge, it sets up a committee with CMO, CIO, or Chief Privacy Officer and Head of Ethics. They publish an AI use policy and diagnose and bans diagnostic AI from acting without a clinician sign off. So this particular governance committee is responsible for setting up all these kind of acceptable policies within the organization. Second one is discovery and inventory. This is nothing but central registry of all the models, every AI system, every agent. It may be also be every uh, platform, or the SaaS vendors, who are even so even for the SaaS vendors, they might also have their own AI system that may be embedded inside their interfaces. So catalog of all those AI systems, which may be direct or indirect, are included in discovery and inventory. So in Northbridge case, they discover, for instance, residents were pasting some de-identified case note into a public chatbot that gets surfaced through a shadow AI scan and added to the registry and the policy. So third one is data governance. It's nothing but provenance, classification, lineage, retention, or whatever related to data, how you are going to store data, how you are going to encrypt data, and how the data is getting utilized in training AI, because it's actually um, what gets transferred into the AI system. So in for a Northbridge case, patient images used to train the radiology assistant get classified restricted. Retention is bound to the hospital's existing medical record policy and not to vendors' defaults. So, and the last part, the documentation, that include model cards, data sheets, system cards, and the regulatory paperwork that proves that you did everything else. So for Northbridge, every AI system gets a model card describing what it does, how it was tested, and where it was tested. So when an inspector asks, the answer takes minutes, not weeks. So this is not just for the regulator, but even for somebody who is going to say do an inference call to the model, you should be aware of what exactly, maybe how many parameters that model have, or what the input looks like, or what the output looks like. Are there any other additional controls, for example, temperature, and so forth. So documentation is very, very important, not just for regulation but for internal discovery. Okay, so second pillar was protection from risk. Also includes security, privacy, and ethics. With foundation in place, the next layer is protecting the thing that can hurt people if you get them wrong. So that is risk management, a scoring rubric, a library of failure scenarios, controls mapped to each, and tracking of residual risk across the portfolio. Then radiology, AI scores high on impact and low on reversibility, so it gets the strictest control set. The scheduling AI gets a much lighter touch. So this is, as I mentioned, is pretty relative within Northbridge. Next one is AI security. So you have to harden your model. So that can be prompt injection, jailbreaks, even sandboxing. That can be completely air gapped. Maybe you are preventing any egress, red teaming, and your audit logs are tamper proof. In Northbridge, for instance, the trash chatbot is red teamed before launch. Testers try to make it recommended home remedies for chest pain. Several attacks succeed and they have to be patched. Privacy, DPIs for high risk processing, lawful biases, subject rights, purpose limitations, and manifestation by design. So for privacy is like is similar. So for instance, in Northbridge, before the ambient transcription tool goes live, our DPI flags that recording would capture the family members in the room. Mitigation is explicit. You take the consent from the patient and have a hard stop button in case somebody denies it. Last one is ethics and fairness. Bias testing we also discussed in episode 1. So you have to have bias testing across protected groups, explainability, contestability, and even human oversight at the right points. So for Northbridge, for instance, the HR resume screener is tested for bias by demographic group. Before deployment, it fails on one axis. It doesn't ship until that's fixed and revalidated. So these accesses can be in multiple other direction as well. What all you do is make sure that bias is mitigated and limited as much as possible, and any decision that is taken by these autonomous AI agent is can be properly explained either by a logs or observability or any other thing. So third one is external fit. Those are regulators, vendors, even SaaS companies that are within your organization. It can also be the LLMs, which may be third party, which the autonomous agents are interacting with. So that includes compliance and regulatory. I also talked about this in the last episode because the field is advancing day by day. So as a result, your laws are also changing, and you have to have the controls in each and every framework. And it may be possible that you have certain assessment on the paper, but there is no conformity to it. So there should be some kind of an automation such that though there are gates to prevent any drift and make sure that your compliances are in place. So for Northbridge maps each AI system to HIPAA, EU AI Act for system used in the European clinic, and FDA software as a medical device rules, some system hit all three. Third party risk, vendor security checks, contract term on data, audit and exit. So even you can have some assessment for your third party vendor. You also have sub process tracking, continuous monitoring. At Northbridge, the EHR vendor quietly adds an AI summarization feature in an update that counts as a new AI system, so it triggers a vendor reassessment, not a quiet rollout. So any interfacing with your organization, uh, because AI agent can autonomously touch those, that should be reevaluated, and there should not be any quiet rollout. Runtime operation, so tracing every request, how AI agent is doing, say, MCP2 or tool call or even CLI calls. So you also have to take care of drift, hallucination, different kind of railguards are in places for different, so that can be railguards can be at the input gate and also as the output gate, and you also have the dashboard which clearly shows and is easier to navigate in case somebody wants to look at it. So for Northbridge, the transcription tool starts inserting medication that weren't set. Drift monitoring catches it within 48 hours. Before any harm, the model is rolled back someday, same day, sorry. So if you are doing it someday, maybe the harm was already done, right? Okay. So last one is incident response. This is AI specific incident definition. What first you need to define what exactly define incident, because AI agents by definition are non-deterministic. So depending on our use case, maybe for the North Bridge, let's see what it is. It's like trash pot misroutes a chest pain caller. The team has 72-hour clock to notify the regulator. The playbook gets them there in 36 hours, not 36 days. So incident response should be prompt and should be within defined legal deadlines. So in case anything is incorrect, maybe the radiology AI misdiagnosed something uh, or misclassified something, you should be able to notify the regulator as well as the patient so that there is no harm done. So last one, as we already mentioned, that governance is a dynamic and runs in a continuous loop. It is not just one-time activity. So there can be changes in version of models, prompts. Even these days, you have skills. Even the tool versions or MCP version change. So everything should be as transparent as possible. There should not be any quiet rollout. So re-review any data and any model changes. Also, there should be a clean decommissioning process in place as well. So that also include not just agent, but also we mentioned in the previous episode, also includes data, also includes harness. Right, for Northbridge, when the radiology vendor releases a new model version, it doesn't auto deploy. It triggers a full re-review against the original conformity assessment. So this we will discuss. Like maybe you have some golden data set, you have some evaluation in place, and only when that evaluation passes, your model actually gets promoted to a certain environment where you again test your model. Next one is financial controls, cost allocation by business unit. Hard spend caps to stop runaway agents. So by definition, agents are reactive. So say something goes wrong, so they try to rectify those errors and try to arrive at an answer. So it should be very important and pertinent that you have certain controls in place so that your cost is within defined limits. So for Northbridge, the billing agent has a daily token cap. If a loop makes it spin uncontrollable, it stops itself before lunch instead of burning the quarterly budget by Friday. Workforce and culture. AI literacy training tailored to each role, psychological safety to raise concerns, honest handling of rule changes. Uh, so, as I mentioned, that governance includes people, so everyone within the organization should be aware of these principles. So for Northbridge, clinicians, IT, and admin staff all get different training. Nurses learn how to override the trash spot. Admins learn to spot when the billing agent is wrong. So these can also be made controllable by means of some notification or even the dashboard. These days it's not so hard because you can have another bot that takes care of this one, but sometimes things may go wrong, and you also need to have for instance, the number one, right, strategy and accountability. So for those accountability, right, who is responsible, you need your workforce should be aware of these governance principles. Next one is metrics and reporting. I guess already talked about this one. So you should have governance KPIs, risk KPIs. You should have defined that. Maybe your the strategy and accountability committee, which comprises of CMO, CIO, defines these metrics, and this metrics will also be dependent on what kind of models you're using. For the North Bridge, it is also it's medical domain into medical domain, so it will have certain different kind of KPIs and different kind of compliance KPIs based on HIPAA or European laws, right? So for Northbridge, the board sees a quarterly dashboard, how many systems exist, how many incident, mean time to detect, audit findings, residual risk by category. So again, governance is a loop, even for multi-agent system running into different domains. You have to have run a continuous loop that takes care of governance as a whole and not as an individual piece within the organization. So this one, just a repeat of previous one. Again, the way this is labeled is relative. I keep on repeating that, but this also depends on like 16 domains that we covered and how these three AI system should have controls, whether they should have a tighter control, or for instance this one, AI security for scheduling AI, or ethics and fairness for scheduling doesn't mean, right? So you have to schedule appointment between a patient and a medical doctor. So maybe um, ethics doesn't matter. You have to just book a time. Um, you have to book an empty slot for that particular meeting. So I have defined around 16 of these, but these are gradual. It depends on the maturity where you are currently in your journey of deploying AI agents. So level one is like absolute zero. You do not have any registry, no owner. AI shows up via someone expense report. Second one is now you have some AI registry, some policies, reviews happen, but those are inconsistent. Shadow AI is everywhere. Next is you have now uh, codified some rules. You have some working program. Most domain covered. Risk steering is real. Incident have a playbook. Then you have a managed one. All 16 domains operating. Metrics on board's desk and audit pass without scramble. Final one is optimize. You are doing continuous improvement, not just in the model or it is also in the process. You have cross system risk is visible now, governance faster because you have automated lots of it, and engineers can ship faster. So there are also pitfalls to it. It looks nice and sundry, on the paper, but there are a few things, right? You have just created a checklist. It is just a one-time gate at the deployment, and it's not a continuous process. After some time, your models have drifted, and nobody noticed. The shadow AI iceberg, the registry covered what IT bought, but it misses everything what employees are using. Maybe using their own card to sign up on to some external AI system, or even SaaS, which has embedded AI system. There is also a documentation theater. Everyone is nice and well documented, but nobody reads to document like it happens in the real time, right? So you have the policies, but nobody follows those policies. Third one is vendor blind spot. You have internal scrutiny, but you are using a third party which internally is using some AI features, and those get free pass. The kill switch nobody tested. Classic SRE disaster recovery scenario where you have, say, a database backup, but you have never tested it. Here also, you have the different switches that you can press, but you have never tested it, and until and unless something goes wrong and you try to press that switch and nothing works. Governance versus, so this is a continuous struggle, that governance also sometimes stifles innovation, stifles the progress. So there should be some kind of a balance between the governance and the pace of innovation. But it's also mentioned that the only way to ship AI at speed without ending up in the code. Yeah. So next one is, yeah, this is again the repetition of what I said, but the takeaway is, you uh, define different domains and make sure that your governance is at depth. It's not just limited to the checklist, and it's a continuous journey, and it occurs at different stages, different levels of your software journey, different levels of your organizational pyramid as well. So this is it for this episode. I guess you would appreciate whatever we covered till now. See you in episode number 3.